Hey, Ideal Protein Nation around the world. Today, episode 12 of the Life Possible podcast, coming to you live from Centerville, Virginia. I am so excited about this. So now I'll have an even dozen of episodes, and there's no better guest to have than our guest we have today. Hey, for those of you who don't know and are new to the Life Possible podcast, I have a feeling we're going to get a lot of those people today. The Life Possible podcast spotlights successful clients, coaches, and clinic owners who have used the Ideal Protein protocol to reset their body, reset their mind, and reset possible. You know, these people have truly had life-changing, transformational experiences through the Ideal Protein protocol. And as a result of that, they're now pursuing goals and dreams that they thought were dead and gone. They're now pursuing goals and dreams that they thought they never could. In fact, some people are pursuing goals and dreams they never even imagined they would want to. In short, they're busy living a life that they enjoy so much that they don't feel the need to escape from it. They're living a life that they enjoy so much that they can't even imagine going back to the way that things were before. Well, who am I? I'm Dr. John Barnes. And I'm clinic director at Barnes Chiropractic Health and Fitness in Centerville, Virginia. And I got to tell you, 5 years ago, there's no two ways about it. I was fat, sick, and depressed, and I couldn't see a way out. And along came the Ideal Protein program. I truly feel like God brought it to me as the answer, and God and my next guest brought Ideal Protein to me as the answer to so many of my prayers, both personally and professionally. So I began the Ideal Protein protocol and promptly lost 45 pounds doing it the first time. Through this personal experience, I just created a passion to truly understand and learn the power of this protocol, and more for what it does for us on the inside than anything it really does on the outside. Through the years of research and understanding, et cetera, now I'm living a life that feels healthy, vibrant, and alive. My life possible. I lost even more weight earlier this year because I'm running triathlons now after 25 years of inactivity and obesity. So that's my life possible. So who's going to be our guest this week? Our guest this week is none other than Dr. Dolores Zumbado. 12 years ago, she did the Ideal Protein protocol herself. And in 2009, she added the Ideal Protein program to her chiropractic practice of 18 years in Gaithersburg, Maryland. Over that time, her practice grew, and she started to help open other Ideal Protein clinics and became an RDC. In 2010, she was the RDC for the District of Maryland and Virginia. In 2018, she became a national business advisor for Ideal Protein. And in 2019, she moved up into the role of regional vice president of the Southeastern United States. Like I said, about 5.5 years ago, this lady walked into my office. She saw me at my worst, and I credit her as saving my life. Let's bring her in, none other than Dr. Dolores Zumbado. Hey!
So good to see you.
How are you?
I loved all that. Wow. I got goosebumps.
Chill bumps. Do
Yes.
you remember that, though? You remember coming to visit me for the first time?
Vividly. Yep.
What a sad sack of whatever I was, and just full of anxiety, depression, and overweightness. And wow, it was such a neat experience.
Yes. Well, I wouldn't say you were that bad. I didn't notice all that, but
you weren't on the inside.
Right. Okay. That's right. There's an expression, don't compare your insides with other people's outsides or something like that. So, yeah. Anyway.
Well, and the neat thing was, again, you were so amazing when you were getting us started here. And, I remember those days when you came in to do our first couple of workshops and get us off the ground. And, it wasn't too long before I realized, just do what Dolores says. If you do what Dolores tells you to do, things are going to happen the way she says they're going to happen, right?
Yes. And you
Which
did.
which
You
is
did
great
it.
advice.
Yeah.
Great advice for us when we're coaching our clients. True, too, right?
Same, exactly. Just eat the sheet. Yes.
So let's start way back in the very beginning. You know, I'm so excited to do this, and we talked about this. One of the reasons I wanted to bring you on is because as I've been watching you over the past couple of months, it just occurred to me that you are having such a great time these days. And you and I both agree that this is probably the most exciting time to be a part of Ideal Protein Nation.
Oh my goodness.
Am I right?
Oh my gosh, it is just amazing. And we are a company whose time has come. We're a movement whose time has come. It's always been great, but now more than ever, we've got a job to do. So we're so excited to have people like you broadcasting like this. It's
thank you. I
amazing.
appreciate that. It's just so much fun. I've got to meet so many incredible people. So, again, take me back to the very beginning, because you were in on the ground floor, like you were in the very earliest of years. What was it like back then? And how did you even find Ideal Protein?
I was in practice and I was looking for a weight loss program. I bet you would, I was a practicing chiropractor at the time. And what I was noticing was that, my patients were just getting bigger and bigger and harder to adjust. And my undergrad is nutrition and biochemistry. So I really like the nutrition piece. So I was looking for a program to offer patients, and I was at a conference and I ran into Mike Ciel. I didn't know he was Mike Ciel at the time.
Mike Ciel, who's Mike Ciel? Tell our people.
Okay, Mike Ciel is our chief science officer at Ideal Protein, and he is a pharmacist and science guru, and his biggest gift is that he has the ability to really make science understandable for the lay public, and a lot of our coaches and clinic owners just love him.
Yeah, to know Mikey is to love him, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So I gave him a bad time because I didn't like the soy in the product. So I gave him a bad time at his booth there. But fortunately, and I call her my angel, I don't even know who she was. But I walked away from the booth because as soon as I heard soy, I said that I didn't understand. And the woman came up behind me and gave me a vanilla drink and a brochure and said, please read this. It's not all soy. It's, a variety of things. And so I read it, and the rest is history. Everything just lined up for me with that.
Yeah. And so then you decided to actually do the protocol yourself, right?
Yes.
As many of us, right?
Yes. You want to, before you recommend anything to your patients, that was my thinking, and probably yours too. I thought, let me try this. I was, I actually had weight to lose, but I really thought, if I just, it'd be nice if I lost 5 to 10 pounds, but that's not really the reason I did the protocol. And this
is something we've talked about, right?
Yes, you reminded me of this. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you didn't start this protocol primarily for weight loss. You had some really deep-seated inspiration as to why you needed to do this. Tell us about that. I think it's so powerful.
Yes, I was turning 47. And that's the age that my mom was when she passed through complications of metabolic syndrome, and I had all the same.
Wow.
All the same symptoms, and knew that I needed to get healthier. I knew that I needed to get my blood pressure down, my cholesterol. I did not want to take, diabetes medication. I had that cluster of symptoms that we refer to as metabolic syndrome. And so, I knew that this was the right thing to do. I didn't know if it would work for me, but
So did you go to a clinic? How'd you get started?
Well, I didn't, because there were no clinics here. So I coordinated with somebody in Florida, and she was my coach. But it was harder then. We didn't have this virtual kind of thing. We would talk
Yeah.
on the phone, and, she sent me all the information, the things to read. I read Tran's book on the first day, Dr. Tran, our founder. And really, I just was amazed. I was just amazed, like most
Yeah.
people are
Yep.
when they do this protocol and they do it right. Right. So,
Yeah. And so things started to change for you. And did you see your health improve?
oh my gosh. Yep. Blood pressure normal, everything. Went back to my physician, and she was amazed, because you don't see that, right? They don't.
Right.
Medical doctors constantly are saying you need to lose weight, eat less, exercise, and people try to go and do the right thing,
Mm-hmm.
but it
And
doesn't work. It's not
right.
the right thing.
And,
It's not.
and
It turns out it's how you lose the weight really matters. Right.
absolutely. Oh my God. And we're gonna talk about that a lot today, right? Because it's not the idea that you're carrying around these extra pounds that give you the high blood pressure. And that's kind of the model that we've all been given. It's not about that. As it turns out, the cause of those extra pounds is also the same cause as the high blood pressure. And if we address the cause, sounds like a chiropractic thing. If we address the cause,
Yeah.
right,
Yep.
we'll get to all the symptoms. So you opened your own clinic.
Yes, I brought it into my practice. For me, immediately I knew that that people needed this information. And you and I, the science made total sense from the beginning. But, when have you noticed, John, that like the whole why ideal protein is not a 30-second conversation, right? It's not. It's just
No,
not. But
it's not. I thought that was just me.
right. And because of all that it does. And so I used to, I really just invited people to the education, because, and I would say, whether you learn something or not, we're going to do this seminar, or whatever, we called it a workshop back then.
Mhm.
And you will learn something, whether you decide to do this or not. I want you just to come and listen. And I
And we
would go
talked about that,
anywhere.
right?
Yeah.
Because you would go anywhere and you had to
Yeah.
tell everybody, right? And
Yeah.
I've told people that too. Once you felt it from the inside out, once you feel this good after feeling so bad, right? You just want to help as many people do the same thing. And it's like, oh my God, we've got an answer. Oh my God, we've got an answer, right?
Yeah.
And so then we talked about you created this workshop, right? You created this, you wanted to do, and one of the ways or one of your resources, right? We'll go back to Mikey, right? Mike CL, he put together this pamphlet, which basically for the science nuts like us, it was the holy grail. I was like, oh my gosh, this is why all of those things change when you do the protocol.
Right. And it wasn't it you that said, like, you most of the time when we do the seminar and you and I end up talking a lot of science, it's like we feel like our patients are going blah 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 blah, weight loss, blah 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 blah. Is that you?
Right?
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Because that was actually my experience. And again, when I went to my seminar, God bless my coach, when I went to my seminar, literally that's all I heard was blah, 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 weight loss, blah, 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 weight loss. And of course, she's all excited about all of these things and what have you. And I'm just like, I'm going to lose weight. I'm going to lose weight. I'm going to lose weight. And I think that that's what a lot of our people in our workshops, that's how they feel. And darn it, anyhow, you go back, you're like, oh my gosh, my tummy feels better, or oh my gosh, my aches and pains are gone, or oh my God, I've got all this energy. Well, didn't you listen to the workshop?
Yeah, they need to go back and hear it again. I feel like.
And so, yeah,
Look at that.
as we were talking about this, that made me nostalgic for the very first slides that you had put together and gave to us to use
That's
for
really
our workshop.
embarrassing. Like, don't show that to marketing branding.
No, it's not at all. You have to look back and enjoy where we were, because we were so darn excited about it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that also just highlights the amazing new ways that we're telling the same story, right?
Yes.
So talk about then the growth of Ideal Protein and how it felt to
Yeah.
open your clinic. And then they said, well, you're doing so good. Why don't you help us open other ones? Right.
Yep. Yeah. So I started talking to everyone, listen, I was out anywhere I could go to tell this story and run some slides like this, I would go and do them, and slowly started. I think the first year we opened about 15 new clinics in the DMV, as we call it, DC metro area. And then what was happening is, because so many people were losing weight and going back to their physicians to get a checkup, then suddenly physicians started to take notice and they started to call me. And so this was really very organic. We didn't advertise back then. In the clinic that I opened, I didn't have a website. I didn't even have a phone. I just, gave out my email to anybody that wanted it, and I would started to engage folks. And so it even grew that way because, as you know, and I guess everyone knows, we partner with healthcare professionals so that they can offer this to their patients. So my job was to reach out to these healthcare professionals and say, hey, Ideal Protein. And like I said, they started calling me, and we were getting referral after referral. And this place now we have, 130 or 140 clinics in this area. So, which I'm really excited about.
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing. And so over the years, then National Business Advisor, that was the next step.
Right.
And so that extended you
south, but not quite as much as I have now, but, working with Ideal Protein's teams to help train and support great clinics like you. Help you guys train your coaches. The all-time secret sauce is the coaching. The protocol's great, but I know we're going to talk about that later.
Yeah.
But and then we had a big leadership change.
Yes, and so then big thing happened about 2 years ago.
Yes,
about 2 years ago.
Stack walked into my life.
Oh man, I tell you that first super weekend that we were at when she was there, some very profound things were going on. I was trying desperately to get her ear, as I'm, again, every single person was there, but I was just so excited to try to tell her about the whole program, just about how amazing it was, so that I wanted her to understand how powerful this thing was and how near and dear to my heart it was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I didn't quite get that opportunity then. However, it probably wasn't the right time.
Yeah, no, it was all too new, and they were gathering information and finding out about us. But it has been what amazing changes we've had in the last 2 years. And
so the whole rebranding, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Boom.
Look at that. Yeah. I love everything about that. And, reset body, reset mind, reset possible. Our tagline, Powering Life Possible, speaks to the possibilities when you get healthy by losing weight. And, we always say this, it's not about the weight you lose, it's about the life you gain.
Absolutely.
And we both had that experience. And when people, and look at these, are real patients, Dr. Paul, Marnie, Lynn, who's now your coach.
Yeah.
So,
when we were sitting, I had my coaches, and we were sitting in a room around a TV when they were unveiling all the new rebranding to us. And it was fun to be a part of that process. I had a couple people visit the clinic while they were developing things. And so we were all fascinated as to where things were going to go. And, as you might imagine, since I built a whole podcast around the concept, man, when they said powering life possible, like everything just stopped for a minute for me right there. And I was just like, oh my God, that is it. They captured it. That's the way I feel. That's what it is about. This isn't about, hey, let's drop 10 pounds and get into size whatever jeans. This is about getting back to life.
And I'll take it a step further with Powering Life Possible. And I feel like, if you are anybody, a coach, or if you are involved with Ideal Protein, that's how I feel with my job. My job is to power life possible for others and share it with everyone.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah, no, it literally, I was just, and again, too, using that wording of reset body, reset mind, and reset possible. You can't do one without the other, really. Right? Reset possible, speaking to the long lasting and the lifestyle that we get to, but you can't get there unless you reset both your body and your mind. Huge, 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 huge.
Yes. Love it. Love it.
Right?
And
So,
it's still growing. Yeah.
you know what? And then here was the other one, right? This
Powering Life Possible with personal coaching and ketogenic weight loss science. 10, 11 years ago, talk about things changing. When I was out talking to physicians about Ideal Protein, and I'd say it was a ketogenic diet, almost all physicians back then would say, well, ketosis is dangerous. It's not recommended to do. So now we hear keto everywhere, right?
Yep. Now,
yes.
and the neat thing about this is, right, is to think that Dr. Tran was onto this, so long ago, and was able to develop a protocol around this. And, now in the past 5 years, much less the past 2 years, the exploding amount of information and application for the ketogenic lifestyle. And it's not just a temporary thing for a lot of people. It's every single day, it seems like there is new research coming out that supports all the incredible benefits,
yes.
right?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely amazing.
And in some ways, I feel like we kind of started the craze with that, right?
Yeah.
And it's important, though, that everybody also understands that what's different about Ideal Protein in terms of other ketogenic diets is that it's highly, highly prescriptive. It is balanced in all your macronutrients. It's not high protein, it's adequate protein. And and it's healthy. So a lot of the do-it-yourself, we call them DIY keto diets. There's no set one out there, and they certainly don't have studies like Ideal Protein does. But they're not created equal, right? I mean, it's not just about losing weight, it's about doing it in a healthy way. And that's how Ideal Protein were able to do it, because it is so prescriptive. It uses the food and meal replacements.
Well, and it's also such a foreign concept for a lot of people, because again, when people try to approach a ketogenic diet, they're still more focused on how much food am I eating, blah, blah, blah. And it's very complex, and you have to understand it's a metabolic state you want to get your body into and stay there, right? And you need a guide. There's the whole DIY keto thing is a jungle, and to try to sort through that information by yourself and to try to do this on your own, it's just, what we've been doing this now for over 12 years. Let us cut your learning curve down. Let us guide you through, and it just makes all the difference in the world.
I think to tag on to that is, I remember doing this diet when, or the protocol 11 years ago. And I didn't tell anybody I was doing it, because I was kind of like a little bit embarrassed that I was in a program and I was talking and getting advice, especially as a healthcare professional. So, but what's interesting is, and I think people, if you feel that way, you should really hear this. There was a study done by the United States Preventive Services Task Force. Boy, that's a mouthful. In 2018. And what they did was they went and surveyed and investigated, hundreds of weight loss programs. And what they found is that the biggest mistake people make is to try to do it on their own, because with their study or survey that they did, they said that the programs that had the most structure, the programs that had a trained counselor or a coach, were the best. The programs that had increased frequency, like 1 or 2 or 3 times a week, where you're going, in person meeting with this counselor. And also that the programs that had the longest duration, like if they were a year or longer, had the best outcomes or results. And, again, there is another why of ideal protein. It's, you got a coach. We've got phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 1 to lose it. We now have an extended phase 2, which is to stabilize your weight, right? Because people
So
go right
important.
from maintenance to, they go from losing it to maintenance, and there's no time in there where you learn to stabilize how to eat, and you're fighting your body's biology that wants you to gain the weight back. So that phase 2 is a game changer, and that's new this past year. And then we have phase 3, which is an extended maintenance program to support, and that's going to be revamped in 2021. So stay tuned for that.
Wow. Wow. So yeah, we had been through the rebranding. Everything was launching. We were so excited. New Year's Eve, I was in here painting this office. So excited to put all the new branding stuff up and kind of start from scratch. And man, I tell you, we hit 2020 rolling, right?
Yeah.
And then what happened? Boom, right? Oh my gosh, nobody saw this coming. It caught everybody by surprise. As a clinic and a business owner, much less as a dad of a family, et cetera, so many things to think about. Wow. And to be as a vice president of this company, to have to think company wide about so many different issues.
Yeah, it was a real scramble, and our leadership and executive team made some really tough decisions, but they were all the right ones, because we needed to keep this thing going. So we pivoted to a lot of virtual. We, drop shipping, leave no patient or client behind. We had, all out, let's support people to help people stay on task at the same time, staying healthy.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, we had to shift real quick. My coaches, all 3 of them had reasons that they needed to self-quarantine. So, but they were also, just very eager to stay in contact with their clients. And so we were able to figure out that virtual thing relatively quickly. I held down the fort here in the office, and I had 2 college kids home, so we were fulfilling orders every way we could, whether people were getting curbside takeaway or we were delivering to people that truly had to stay in quarantine. And it was just a interesting time. And yes, you know what, I tell you, Ideal Protein put some things into place for us that made it so much easier. And, really to try to leave no dieter behind. So thankful for a lot of the things that they did. So, again, we were trying to figure out, right? So COVID-19, as everybody's worried about it specifically, and then, oh my gosh, some people are having such a terrible time with it. They have to go to the hospital, and people are dying from it. And we're trying to understand what the heck is going on, right?
Yeah. I love this slide that you put up. It's Lancet Diabetes and Endocrinology, June 2020. Putting metabolic health in the spotlight again. This is what Dr. Tran and Mike CL and Ideal Protein has been saying from day one. And now you're seeing it everywhere, that the severity of COVID-19 much of it has to do, obviously age, that's, one of those, but the underlying poor metabolic health that we have.
Yeah, and that was the most amazing thing when we're watching the news, and you start to hear, as a physician, right? You hear things that other people don't. You pay attention to details that other people don't. And again, being science heads like we are, we're always trying to figure out, what is the key? What makes one person not have symptoms and another person go to the hospital, and trying to understand that stuff. And really pretty quickly, we started to see that age was the easiest and first thing to spot, but what do older people tend to actually have? And then we got to the whole obesity and metabolic syndrome comorbidities. And so it just shined a light on what was going on there. And I thought it was really cool because as I was reminiscing about those months early on, you were desperately trying to figure out how to stay in touch with our dieters, leave no dieters behind, get them tuned into Ideal Protein and what was going on. And so you guys you and your team brainstormed the idea of the Ideal Protein Health Talks.
Yes. And weren't you the first guest? I think you might have been our first guest.
And I was so excited because you guys thought of me as being the first guest. And, this is when we reconnected. This was back in April 2nd. And you and I both had talked about the whole concept of, and revisiting the concept of, the power of this protocol to reset your metabolism and to have a beneficial effect on so many factors inside, and why you did this in the first place, right? That's the first time.
And but you reminded me of that, because I think I had gotten off track a little bit talking too much about weight loss, but I really credit you with the title, The Power of the Protocol, right? Because it's what happens. I'll let you say it because you say it.
And it was so neat to see, again, to see your eyes light up again. And you were just like, oh my gosh, you're so right. I've been thinking about this now since we spoke for the first time. And that was how I got started and why I got started and why I'm so excited about it. And I just need to revisit that. The power of this protocol truly is more what it does for us on the inside. The outside is kind of just a bonus.
Bonus,
right?
Absolutely.
And so we put our heads together and we put that show together. Little did you know you were creating a monster.
And now we have a podcast.
And I wasn't going to let this go, right? But when I went back and watched it in preparing for this show, because it was just such a neat experience for all of us. And what I thought was fascinating, that back in April, you and I were having this discussion early on, when a lot of people weren't yet having this discussion. And the last thought when we ended the show was this: even before this crisis, during this crisis, and especially as we come out of this crisis, I really feel that one of the biggest and most important battles we face is the battle against obesity and chronic metabolic degenerative disease. Preventing, reducing, and reversing these problems should be the number one focus of healthcare. But especially for Ideal Protein, because you know what? Darn it, anyhow, I truly believe that the Ideal Protein protocol is one of the biggest and best weapons we have in this battle. That's why right now, you and I both just are feeling like this is the most exciting time to be a part of Ideal Protein. Right?
Again, it's and we were talking about it. And so, Dr. Dennis Barley, he's also regional VP in the North.
Yeah.
And we were constantly talking about this with the leadership team. We were just scratching why aren't we positioning now? This is our moment. We've got a solution. Let us start telling the world.
Well, and it only made sense because the evidence kept mounting, right?
Yep.
And this is a slide that you put together. Start talking to us about why you put this slide together.
Yeah, and I actually got these numbers from Dr. Anagawa in another health talk. This is really her slides, but comparing the United States to our Asian and European counterparts in terms of COVID-19, in terms of the severity of the disease, if you get it, ICU stays, and yes, even death rates. And the biggest difference turns out to be obesity rates. So if we look at China, they're at 6%. I can't even imagine what that would be like.
6%? What do you?
I know, right? 6%. I don't know. And all that rice thing. I don't know. Italy, 20%. And here we are.
Boom. Drop the bomb.
42%. And when I first started doing this, we were only at 30%. And I've been at this for 11 years, and we've increased almost a percentage point every year.
That's absolutely
It's,
ridiculous.
you know, and Dr. Logeman, who's on our medical board, did a presentation a month or so ago, and he talked about now obesity is moving into first position in terms of risk factors for COVID-19.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
we got to get on this. Yeah.
So then again, as we kind of have been going through month by month through the pandemic, right? Other people start to bring up this conversation. Talk to me about this slide you put together.
I love this one. This is a Wall Street Journal article by, I'm not going to say it wrong. Tell me her name.
Nina Teicholz. I've been a fan for years now. Yep.
Teicholz. Okay, good. She wrote this article, and this was, I think this was June-ish, right? Or April?
May. Yeah, May.
Okay.
It's like late May.
Late May. Okay. So it's and the title of the article, if you can't see it there, is A Low Carb Strategy for Fighting the Pandemic's Toll. And she says that pills and surgery can treat the symptom of such conditions, but diet-related problems require diet-related solutions. And who does that sound like? That was Dr. Tran 11 years ago, saying those exact words.
Wow.
We're going to treat a problem caused by food with food.
Wow.
So good. She goes on to say, and I love this quote, to combat this and future pandemics, we need to talk about not only the masks that go over our mouths, but the food that goes into them. And so, you know, we have just set ourselves up because of the way that we eat in this country. 70% of the population struggles with weight. 70%. So what does that mean? Said another way, that means only 30% of the population is at a normal, healthy weight.
Wow.
So that to me says the default mechanism, if you just go with the flow in America, you're going to be in that 70%, and really scary for our young people, right? Because 60% of them are, you know, at risk for developing obesity by the time they're in their 30s.
Staggering thoughts, staggering statistics. And one of the reasons I've been a fan of Nina Teicholz for so long is she's part of a group who is trying to get the people that are revisiting the national dietary guidelines, right?
Yes.
You remember that pyramid that they made?
Yeah.
6 to 11 servings of bread, rice, cereal, and
Yeah.
She's trying to get them to include all of the new data that's coming out about low carb, healthy fat diet.
It's staggering that it's not right. Go ahead.
It's not being recognized. It's not being included, and so you know, we certainly applaud her efforts and everything that she says. You know, then also most recently, man, when I saw this slide in the talk you gave the other day, I had to run and get this one.
Yeah.
What an incredible article.
Okay, so this is relating hyperinsulinemia, which we're going to talk about in a moment for a mouthful, but
big long word.
Big long word, which just means too much insulin in the blood, right? Too much insulin. So we'll talk about that. But this is relating this condition of hyperinsulinemia with COVID-19, and it's a rationale for management of COVID-19. And so if you look at that first little picture, and you know, you can't see it, but go look up this study. Hyperinsulinemia causes all these things that you don't want. It's, you know,
and it makes it, in turn, it makes it easier for COVID-19 to attack your body and destroy you.
Because your body literally cannot fight.
On so many levels, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing I think that people don't realize. And that's what we talked about on our first, when we did that Facebook Live, is just all the things that are related to when we consume too much sugar.
Yeah. So we're going to flesh that out a little bit later. Yeah.
So then on this next little slide, their first line of defense is a low carb diet, you know, and what were the ones, because I don't have it was low carb What was it?
Well, yeah. So again, when we read, so the first slide that we've got is showing all of the things that come about because of hyperinsulinemia that predispose you towards having a very hard time fighting off COVID-19. But then the next one is their treatment rationale. And as they go through their treatment rationale and things to do, the foundation of what they're doing is they're saying for acute care of a COVID patient would be to let's get them in ketosis right away.
Exactly.
Let's bring down the insulin level, bring down their blood sugar, and get that back into the normal range. And so they're monitoring, they're suggesting to monitor patients' blood sugar and ketones on an hourly basis, and to put this into play as the foundation of their treatment.
And Mike CL actually said this recently, that, getting into ketosis if you get COVID is the thing to do. And this hadn't come out yet. So I wonder if he'd seen this or he knew of this study. But I think it's really, again, treating a problem created by food with food is brilliant. And
yeah,
they cited a well-structured ketogenic diet as
right.
a great way to go. And what is that? That's idle protein. So
yeah, 100%. Absolutely. So yeah, all this stuff was going on. You were talking to everybody in corporate about all of this, and seemed like there were some great insights that came out of people's experience that led to this new campaign and everything that we're about to unveil. Do you want to share some of those insights?
Yeah, I mean, our vision, our mission is the same. It's just sharper focus now.
Hello?
Because,
there you go. You're back.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Our vision, mission, it hasn't changed. It's just in sharper focus what it is, that we do. And, how many of us, who has not thought, and I know I have, am I healthy enough when I get this? Am I healthy enough to survive it? And am I doing everything that I need to do? So, part of the insight is with the threat of COVID-19, every aspect of our life contains thoughts about the vulnerability, the importance, and the care of our health. And so so Ideal Protein started kind of circling around and talking about, what is our new fall campaign going to be about? And
it was very obvious, right? We've got the answer.
Yes, we have an answer, and
the time is now.
The time is now. It's right now, and that's why it's so exciting to be part of Ideal Protein. This gives me chills. Food is medicine. Weight loss is healthcare.
Yeah. Once again, a big reveal. I had my insiders telling me, "Oh my God, you're going to be so excited about the new program, the new campaign coming up. Oh my God, this is so amazing. It's one of the best things we've ever done." And when I first laid eyes on this, it was, again, life-changing, huge bomb. Yeah. Everything we've wanted, right?
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
So here we are.
I know. We did it. Yay.
Here we are. Food is medicine. Weight loss is healthcare. And that's what's so important. That's what's always been important about the Ideal Protein protocol. And that's what always has separated us. That's why we relate it. We do it through healthcare practitioners' offices. It's medically developed protocol and professionally supervised. And so, again, it just brought us full circle to the rebranding, right?
Yeah. And, a lot of people, I don't think, looked at this. And recently I revisited, because I love our marketing team and the such great writing. They were so spot on with this. But, we need to go back to what is our mission at Ideal Protein. And our mission, and this again was pre-COVID, to empower people to achieve transformational, lasting weight loss and live healthier lives. And when I read this, I focus on transformational, because it's not just, when we do it this way, the way we lose the weight, it is transformative, as we've said. It's lasting. It's going to be, we can't There's no health benefit if we lose it and regain it, right?
Yep.
And
Right.
the goal is living the healthier lives. And here it is, the vision. We see ourselves doing this by leading the way to end obesity through metabolic transformation. That is who we are. And I'm so proud of that.
Mind blowing. And this is, again, I keep hammering every show. It's about metabolic transformation. It's not about dieting weight off so that you can get healthier. It's a totally different approach. It's from the inside out, right?
Yeah.
Love it. So let's get into a little bit more technical. Let's talk about this, right? So metabolic transformation. Why does anybody care, or how can they understand? That's more what it is. People care. How can they understand in kind of a logical pattern what is metabolic health and what are we specifically talking about?
Okay, so this is really interesting because, we talked about with COVID flattening the curve, right? Well, we've got another epidemic that needs to be flattened. And the problem is nobody's talking about it except for maybe us and, our internal medicine docs and cardiologists. What is metabolic health? If we look at this screen, visceral obesity, high blood sugar, hypertension, high triglycerides, and cholesterol issues or dyslipidemia. Having optimal or good metabolic health means that your waist circumference is normal, your blood sugar is normal, your blood pressure is normal, and your cholesterol is normal, all without the use of medication, right? And if you are either taking medication for any of these conditions, or if you have at least two of them, right, visceral obesity with one of the other four, you have what's called metabolic syndrome. And so that's important, right? Because if you have this, you have a 5-time greater likelihood of having a heart attack or stroke and developing over time heart disease. But also, you're getting type 2 diabetes. Soon you're going to start hearing about type 3 diabetes, right? All the sugar is having an effect on our brain cells. So we're seeing dementia, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, which is on the rise and predicted to increase by 2030, I think like 170 some percent. Wow. So that's a challenge, but in 10 years, that's just 10 years away. And a lot of fertility problems in women, polycystic ovarian syndrome, and then the kicker, this chronic inflammation, right? Which is the problem with COVID, right? Because you said it before, this chronic, we start inflamed. Apparently, that's how the virus kills us. Our bodies are already inflamed, and we do not have the ability to
fight
to lower or to fight the inflammation, right, folks? So again, we keep saying this now more than ever. So this was a shocker to me. What is the prevalence of optimal metabolic health in national and in American adults? And this number has gone down yet again. It's 12%. That means 88% of the population has metabolic dysfunction.
Yeah.
Right?
So mind-blowing, absolutely mind-blowing.
It's scary. And the scary part of this are future generations. All right, so should we just keep going on here?
Yeah, let's just keep going on. So again, when this is a much updated and fancier of one of those first slides that we showed. Really, again, let's try to tell the story of how this develops inside someone to have these effects, right?
Right. So when we look at this bullseye, right, what we're saying here with metabolic syndrome is abdominal obesity, high cholesterol, blood sugar issues, high blood pressure. Those are metabolic syndrome. And you can also see other related comorbidities, chronic inflammation, elevated uric acid, fatty liver disease, and we said. And so there's something at the bullseye there. There's something that causes it, right? And it is this hyperinsulinemia, literally translated, too much insulin in the blood, coupled with insulin resistance, and you develop carbohydrate intolerance, which is, metabolic syndrome.
It's truly, and I love that term, carbohydrate intolerance. I think
I got that from you.
people can relate to that. And I got that from Dr. Phil Maffetone. He's been saying this since the 80s, which is crazy. But, again, I think people can identify this. And I really try to talk to my patients about this. Your body just has an inability to tolerate carbohydrates and do the right things with them, right? So it's the chronic overconsumption of carbohydrates that creates the hyperinsulinemia and eventually then the insulin resistance. And it just turns up like carbohydrate intolerance.
Yeah. And what I want to say is too, our buddy, Dr. Bickman, our new hero, our new metabolic hero, Superman, is, the prevalence of insulin resistance and hyperinsulinemia, and that so many people
slow down, girl. Slow down, girl.
Oh, no. Okay, we'll get to that.
Let's get to the part about how we deal with this, how the Ideal Protein Protocol deals with this specific problem,
right?
And therefore can have an effect on all of those things.
Treating food with food, right? So one of the things we do with Ideal Protein is immediately day one, you're depleting, you're taking the carbohydrates out of the diet for a period of time, most of them. And when the carbohydrates go down, the insulin production goes down, and everything that you're seeing on this screen, all of this improves. And the great news about improving metabolic health, and there's a lot of studies that speak to this, is that improving metabolic health can occur pretty quickly. We have a study that, it occurs in as short as 12 weeks. Folks, there's time to improve this.
Absolutely.
Got to start now. Everybody's talking about going and getting their flu shot by the end of October. I'm saying, everybody improve your metabolic health. Get started now so you're ready for flu season. Right?
100%. And there's still, again, here we are we're coming to the fourth quarter of the year, but there's still plenty of time to do this, even in 2020, right?
Yep.
So, there we go. Now we're getting to Ben, right?
See, we talked about too far advanced. Okay, go ahead.
So, I think one of the neatest things about Dr. Ben Bickman, and please look him up if you don't know him as of yet. He's been on 1,000 podcasts in the past few months because he wrote this book called Why We Get Sick, which is all about insulin resistance and why it matters to you. Why should people hear that term and like, well, what do I care about insulin resistance, right? Because the prevalence of insulin resistance is so crazy. He says, and I take this from his book, in fact, insulin resistance is the most common health disorder worldwide. It affects more people, both adults and children, each year than any other disease. And yet most people are unfamiliar with the term insulin resistance. Or if they are, they don't understand it, which is not surprising because I'm a biomedical scientist and professor. And though I focus now on insulin resistance, I was totally in the dark about this condition too. Right?
Absolutely.
What was the statistic you were saying about?
Yeah, no, I think it's like, half of American adults are known to have it, but they think that the number is as much as 88%, which makes sense because that, that correlates with the prevalence of metabolic health, right? 88% are dysfunctional. But more disturbing to me really is how common it's going to be in coming generations.
Right.
Because this insulin resistance thing, it comes over time. And at first, your body is able to keep the blood sugar normal. But meanwhile, you have this insulin problem and you don't know you have it. And it's hard to test for that, right? Yep. So you don't know you have it and you're keeping up with it. But meanwhile, this is developing unbeknownst to you. And then suddenly it will begin to have an effect on blood sugar and weight and all those things.
Yeah, I found that that's one of the most fascinating parts of Dr. Bickman's work. And when he talks about, your blood sugar can be normal. And that's what we've actually been looking at. However, your body is over-secreting insulin in an effort to keep it normal. And that's where the hyperinsulinemia is so insidious and we don't know that it's happening, but you can see it's happening, right? There are outward signs and symptoms that tell us. So you and I were talking about this too, that it might be more important for people to understand what are the signs and symptoms to look for to see if they might in fact have some degree of insulin resistance, right?
Yes.
So, and one of the things that I was relating to you was I had most of them. That's the
I
fascinating
did
part,
too.
right? That's the fascinating part to me is, back then I had developed all of these things. In fact, I was so embarrassed. I stopped going to see my primary care physician because he was a good friend of mine. So I hadn't been in for my physical probably in 4 or 5 years. And, God, I can't even imagine what my markers looked like if I had had them tested. And so when we would do our workshops and we would talk about these symptoms, I'm like, oh gosh, yeah, I had all of these symptoms. So number one, too much fat around the middle, right? And that's one of the indicators. What is the thing about measuring your waistline?
Yeah, I think for women, the waist circumference, you're at risk if it's over 30, and I don't know. Well, I can't remember the numbers.
So too much fat around the middle, and if you've got that, right? Just have no energy. You're worn out all the time, right? Cravings for sugar or starches. That's huge. Can't lose weight even with exercise. I got to stop.
That was me. Yeah.
I got to stop right there, right? That was the craziest thing. When I finally woke up and I wanted to change my life, I went back to doing what I'd always done, which was diet and exercise, and it didn't work.
Yeah.
And I didn't understand the difference between healthy me just trying to cut off 5 pounds versus insulin resistance me. It's never going to work. Right?
Yeah. No. And I was right there with you. So,
and you were telling me too, you were a runner, right?
Yep. 20 miles in a week and eating really well. And, I was studying nutrition. So I was having the healthy carbs and the healthy fats and the, whole foods and, and I mean, I suppose doing all that kept me from being, 200 and whatever,
Right.
Still, I mean, the weight
still,
that I had was definitely all in the belly. It's definitely is for me insulin resistance.
Gastrointestinal symptoms, man, I tell you, right? IBS, reflux, a lot of the GI problems that people are having due to increased inflammation in that GI tract. Again, because of that hyperinsulinemia, the effect that insulin has on our inflammatory response. Chronic overuse injuries. I try to exercise, doc, but I hurt myself every time. Right?
Yes. Oh my God.
How many times do you hear that as a chiropractor? And this is a big one. And this is an observation that we talked about earlier that I had in my clinic was, you're prone to a very severe episode of back pain or other musculoskeletal attacks, so to speak, right? This was that person that came into your office, couldn't stand up straight because they sneezed and their back went out. Did you ever have one of those?
Oh yeah. It's never, they don't hurt themselves lifting a piano, right?
No, right.
It's like a sneeze or something like that, but they are at risk. And, also like, shoulder, like adhesive capsulitis and stuff like that.
Yep. Yeah. All of that stuff, a very dramatic overreaction to a small injury. And once I realized that a couple of years into ideal protein, I would tell my people it's like having a gas leak inside your body. All it takes is a spark, and boom, your inflammatory response explodes.
Yes. What a great way to put that.
Let's see, high blood pressure, right? So we get back to the idea. If you do have high blood pressure, if your doctor told you have pre-diabetes, or you've developed type 2 diabetes, or cholesterol issues, non-alcoholic fatty liver, PCOS, or even just a family history of these things, that predisposes you. It does seem like people have a predisposition to insulin resistance genetically.
Yes. And this, I think you bring up a really good point here is that for those listening is if you have these, you got to start working with your kids now. They need to know because they're at risk and most of the time they eat like you eat, right? So it's time to make a change, right? Sometimes it's just, is it nature, nurture? I don't know.
Right. So, I think if people can identify that they're probably struggling with this thing, their next question, their next logical thought has to be, well, what do I do? right? How do I take care of this? And then if you start researching it on your own, let's get on Dr. Google and figure out what I need to do. It's so confusing, so many different thoughts and ideas, et cetera, et cetera. So again, enter Ideal Protein, right?
Yes. And I think it's having and following a prescriptive program that is proven, it's been vetted. Every time we bring Ideal Protein into a physician's office, they're like, let me see the studies. They vet, they do their own internal kind of a study. We can't call it a study, but they usually try it, they test it, and they prove it to themselves. And we do have the studies to back it. So, it really is, I think it's such a good point. Everybody says, I've researched this, and what that means is Google.
Yeah, right. So again, I think that brings us full circle to the most exciting time to be a part of this movement. And what I think has been really fascinating that started this month was revisiting the brilliance of Dr. Tran. Right. And it's not just the brilliance, it is the person of the persona of Dr. Tran. Can you talk about a little bit about your experience with first time you met him and your experience of working with Dr. Tran?
Yeah, he's just so everyone knows, whoever's involved with Ideal Protein, is that, I was involved in some market research that they were doing, and they asked me if Ideal Protein was a person, who would it be? And I'm so literal. I'm like, it's not a person. What do you mean? And it just stumped me with that question, but I immediately thought of Dr. Tran, because he is the perfect blend of science and humanity. So humble, so smart.
Yeah.
I wish I spoke French so that I could really talk with him. He speaks like 5 languages, so English isn't his first language. And he actually just learned English, I think, right around the time that I met him 11 years ago. But working with...
Yeah, well, here's the thing, right? So I remember from my first memory of Dr. Tran was my first super weekend 5 years ago. And he addressed the assembly there, but I'm pretty sure they said something like that was one of the first times he had ever been able to do that, because he had been working so hard to learn English. Yeah. And, now to see him doing the interviews that he's doing, et cetera, is amazing.
Yeah, no.
I also too, I didn't mean to cut you off, but
no.
What you told me, and we were talking about the unveiling of the new logo, and you and I were having a discussion personally about this. And what I thought was fascinating, and I really wished at the time that you had shared this with Ideal Protein Nation. We didn't necessarily have as big of a vehicle as the Life Possible podcast back then, but the circle and the diamond, right?
Yes.
The circle. I bet 99% of clients don't know the background in that logo. Mm-hmm. So, what does the circle represent?
Yeah. So we think of the circle when you think of a circle, it's the circle of life, right? So the circle represents life, and the diamond. What is a solid form of a diamond, right? Is science, right? Yeah. So it was
like science and humanity diamond, is.
Yes, right, exactly. So it's the what is Ideal Protein is at the intersection of those two things: the circle, which is humanity, and the diamond, which is science.
And then you extrapolated that and said, and to me, that's Dr. Tran.
Yes.
So every time I see the new logo, I think of Dr. Tran.
Yeah, no, we are so fortunate that, I feel very blessed. I love my job, and I know you do too.
Absolutely. So yeah. Dr. Tran dropped a video on us last week, very powerful 1-minute video. And I thought that it was so important, and I don't know how many people got to actually watch it. I thought that we should talk about it right now too. So I transcribed it. And basically he said, being overweight isn't something you should be ashamed of or try to manage on your own. Weight loss is healthcare you deserve. Being overweight is not your fault. Excess weight is mostly due to a hormone-related problem or your personal physical makeup, and it is magnified by poor eating habits, often resulting from a lack of knowledge. You are accountable, but you're not guilty. Being overweight can cause serious health issues, but losing weight on a structured protocol with a coach and education can have a positive impact on your health, which is why at Ideal Protein, we believe that food is medicine and weight loss is healthcare and that you deserve it. And I thought that speaks to what we're talking about right now, right? About the power, the power of the second half of the protocol, not just the science, but the idea of coaching, having a coach.
Oh my gosh. And we always say this is our secret sauce, the coach. We try to do this alone. We don't think that we need this. And it is, I mean, it's the difference between, and like we were saying before, like I didn't want to even tell people that I was doing a program with somebody's help. But 30 pounds later, after 7 weeks, I'm all in. And it's funny because we don't get an easy pass, right? I mean, I may be with Ideal Protein, but I still, when I do a tune-up, and and I did one last summer after 2 months of COVID, I had a coach. I did it with, I still use, this piece. So.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of times we find that we're coaching our coaches, and everybody needs somebody. Even Michael Jordan, right? And that's one of the things I talk about with my clients, right? Even Michael Jordan needed a coach. When do athletes need a coach? When we're struggling, when we're not getting where we want to go on our own. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, no.
So again, part of the most exciting time to be tuned into Ideal Protein Nation, the book tour, right? That kicked off this week.
Yes. And every Tuesday in October at 8 p.m., get the book. Do you have the book? I have mine. Is somewhere around here, dog-eared.
Oh, there it is.
There it is. It's a great read. That was a book that I did on day 1 of the protocol. I remember I had the peach and mango drink for breakfast. It was 6 a.m. And I thought, this is going to be a long day. So I got that book. It was the first edition back then. And I just sat down and read that book that day. And that was one of the best things that I ever did. Because again, just little things he says, we call them tranisms that he says that just really get into your head. So you guys, please share. This is for anybody. This is not just IP Nation. We love it if you invite people to hear and to listen to the book. And next week, he's going to be talking about balancing sugar cravings, right?
Yeah, he's gonna address sugar addiction and those sugar cravings. And I think that too, he's approaching it from just a fantastic point of view. That's probably the biggest thing that we need to coach our clients through, right?
Yes.
I know, for me as a recovering sugar addict, and we've talked about the depth of that and how I found myself shooting up in my pantry with chocolate chips. I was so addicted to sugar, right? I probably freaked your daughter out so bad when we were talking about that. She's scarred for life.
Yeah. No, you said this was your drug of choice during COVID, right?
Well, but that's the thing, right? For many people, and although because I've been working on this so hard for 5 years now, my drug of choice is exercise. And but for many people, their drug of choice during this pandemic has been sugar. And it's easy, it's accepted. Young and old can do it, and it's such a huge issue.
Yeah, and it's triggers the pleasure centers of the brain, and it that good feeling that we get.
Right, sugar behaves like a drug in our body; it does not behave like a nutrient. And if we can get that across, then we're on our way to understanding that we need to control it tremendously. So yeah, very excited to hear that. Tranism. So you talked about too. When I came to visit your office for the first time, I wanted to see, what your office looked like and try to get some ideas for what we were doing here. One of the things that made the biggest impact on me was the Tranism that you had painted on your wall.
Yes, I still have it.
Yeah.
Yes, I love that one. And he said it to me. And when he said it to me, like I heard him speak the first time all those years ago, it just pinged my heart a little bit. And it says, you don't have to lose weight to love yourself. You have to love yourself to lose weight. And, he talks about all the time, accept yourself, be happy with where you are. That self-love and all those things he covers in this book. And it's very, Melanie was talking about, it's very unique kind of book because there's the science and the humanity and the acceptance and it's all in there. There's something in that book for everyone. So really,
well, I'm really excited about it. Our clinic, we have a book club with our clients, and we are going to go through this book as a book club and do a deep dive. And I've got two of my coaches that are going to help me with this. We're each going to take a section, and I'm very excited to kind of see how they respond to the different aspects of this book. So then also too, right? You guys keep telling me about this, and this is something that.
Yes, this is going to be like our workshop on steroids, right?
Yeah.
This is Master Your Metabolism Masterclass. This is November 17th, 2020, IP Nation. This is about getting healthy and once and for all mastering your metabolism. Now you understand what metabolic health is. You understand what metabolic disease is and what we're going to do. I'm not doing it. I'm going to be attending just like you. But we've got a team of speakers that are going to be doing this masterclass. The key thing with this is it's for everyone. You don't have to be at a clinic. And in fact, I'm going to try to appeal. 88% of our population is struggling, and we really need your help. If you know somebody that is struggling with weight or blood pressure or anything on that list that John was talking about, the low energy and all of those things, get them to this class, right? They don't have to decide to do Ideal Protein, but this is going to be very good content. Whether you do this program or not, you're going to learn something at this class. So make sure that you're sharing it with everyone. We need this for ourselves, for our families, for our communities during this time of COVID-19. We need this for our children and our children's children, because we are going in the wrong direction with
metabolic health.
Metabolic health. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm very, very, very excited for that. And we will be doing our best to spread the word. Yay! Phew. All right. I think we did it.
Man.
That was a lot, right?
Yeah, it was. I was not sure what to expect, but went a lot of fun. Thank you.
Anytime we get together, there's so much to talk about. So thank you. I was so excited to be able to do this. Again, for me, this is just a really neat coming full circle from 5 years ago, from when you walked into my office and changed my life and so many of our clients' lives. And I look forward to teaming up with you for things in the future. So thank you. Do you have any last thoughts or things that you wanted to get across to Ideal Protein Nation?
All right, Ideal Protein Nation. First to you, Dr. Barnes, is to let you know just how vital this, what you're doing, these podcasts are. And, you've definitely got the megaphone, and we really need more of that. So thank you for the work that you're doing. You've been a champion for Ideal Protein right from the start, and really one of the easiest people to work with. And my whole team.
Thank you.
So thank you. But awesome. One last thing, if you guys are looking for a clinic, go to idealprotein.com. We have a clinic locator. You can just put your zip code in there and find a clinic and a coach near you. Don't forget the coach, the most important part. Absolutely.
Thank you. I hope to see you soon.
Okay.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being with us today. So many great things in there. Again, like she said, if you've heard something that strikes a chord with you and you want to get started doing the Ideal Protein program, if you happen to be in the Northern Virginia area, look us up at Barnes Chiropractic Health and Fitness in Centerville, Virginia. And please pass this podcast on. If you haven't heard any of the other episodes, go back and listen to them. I've had some amazing people in Ideal Protein, amazing clients and coaches and clinic owners. We've got some really great shows for you to get back to. So look up Life Possible Podcast on Facebook, on YouTube, on iTunes, wherever you listen to podcasts. So thank you for being with us. Until next time, 2 weeks from now, which turns out to be October 29th, will be the next episode. And I'm going to keep our next guest a surprise because I don't even know who it's going to be. I've been working so hard with Dolores on this one. Once again, thank you so much.